dua Pak. Sembilan Pak. Itu kayak 80 deh. Kamera ini.
Selamat siang Bapak Ibu dan rekan sekalian. Perkenalkan saya Nurma, MC dalam kegiatan webinar hari ini. Kita masih menunggu peserta lainnya yang akan hadir bersama kita. Mohon bersabar dahulu. Pastikan audio Anda dalam posisi mute.
One of the most challenging times for an IT administrator is when a user calls in complaining of a slow application or downtime. This affects end-user experience and disrupts business productivity. Several years ago, IT performance monitoring and diagnosis was simple. IT teams had to look into network and server metrics like CPU, memory, and disk utilization. But applications today are more complex, heterogeneous, and multi-tiered. New technologies such as containers, digital workspaces, and cloud computing are commonly used. And there are many different application technologies: Java and .NET web applications, SAS, SAP, and other enterprise applications. Monitoring just resources is no longer enough. All that matters today is user experience. If users are unhappy, your IT deployments will not be successful. So your IT team needs 360-degree visibility of user experience. Introducing EGInnovation version 7, a comprehensive and intuitive user experience monitoring solution that helps IT teams diagnose problems systematically, quickly, and accurately. EGInnovation version 7 aids in diagnosing problems accurately, reducing time to repair, and planning intelligently to support new workloads. With EGInnovation, you can monitor user experience using synthetic software robots deployed at different locations and get alerted to potential issues before they become business impacting. You can also monitor all real user interactions across digital touchpoints and identify which users are affected, where, and for how long. Get performance visibility of every layer and every tier of the IT environment to isolate bottlenecks affecting user experience. Correlate performance metrics from across the IT environment to automatically understand dependencies and pinpoint the root cause of user experience issues, reducing MTTR. Leverage a wealth of performance and user experience insights gleaned to analyze trends, forecast capacity needs, and plan to fine-tune the infrastructure. The result: happy users, enhanced productivity, and tangible business ROI. To ensure a stellar experience for your users, try EGInnovation today. One of the most challenging times for an IT administrator is when a user calls in complaining of a slow application or downtime. This affects end-user experience and disrupts business productivity. Several years ago, IT performance monitoring and diagnosis was simple. IT teams had to look into network and server metrics like CPU, memory, and disk utilization. But applications today are more complex, heterogeneous, and multi-tiered. New technologies such as containers, digital workspaces, and cloud computing are commonly used. And there are many different application technologies: Java and .NET web applications, SAS, SAP, and other enterprise applications. Monitoring just resources is no longer enough. All that matters today is user experience. If users are unhappy, your IT deployments will not be successful. So your IT team needs 360-degree visibility of user experience. Introducing EGInnovation version 7, a comprehensive and intuitive user experience monitoring solution that helps IT teams diagnose problems systematically, quickly, and accurately. EGInnovation version 7 aids in diagnosing problems accurately, reducing time to repair, and planning intelligently to support new workloads. With EGInnovation, you can monitor user experience using synthetic software robots deployed at different locations and get alerted to potential issues before they become business impacting. You can also monitor all real user interactions across digital touchpoints and identify which users are affected, where, and for how long. Get performance visibility of every layer and every tier of the IT environment to isolate bottlenecks affecting user experience. Correlate performance metrics from across the IT environment to automatically understand dependencies and pinpoint the root cause of user experience issues, reducing MTTR. Leverage a wealth of performance and user experience insights gleaned to analyze trends, forecast capacity needs, and plan to fine-tune the infrastructure. The result: happy users, enhanced productivity, and tangible business ROI. To ensure a stellar experience for your users, try EG Enterprise today.
Unmute, Mak.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat siang Bapak Ibu dan rekan sekalian. Kita akan mulai webinar hari ini. Terima kasih atas kehadirannya. Dalam kesempatan kali ini kita akan membahas tema mengenai software tools that manage service provider need. Silahkan sampaikan pertanyaan Anda dalam kolom chat dan nanti akan kita bahas dalam sesi Q&A. Untuk pertanyaan terbaik akan mendapatkan voucher OPPO senilai Rp100.000 untuk 3 orang terpilih. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining our webinar series today, Software Tools that Manage Service Provider Need. Please submit your question in the chat column and there will be discussion led in the Q&A series. For the best question, you will get an OPPO voucher worth 100,000 for 3 select people. Kegiatan ini didukung oleh Aptiknas, Asosiasi Pengusaha Teknologi Informasi dan Komunikasi Nasional, Event Cerdas Mitra Transformasi Digital Anda, dan media partner biskom.web.id, portal IT dan media hukum. This event is supported by Aptiknas, Indonesian ICT Business Association, Event Cerdas, your digital transformation portal partner and transformation partner, and biskom.web.id, IT and Law Portal. Kami dari PT Daya Cipta Mandiri Monitoring selaku partner dari EGInnovation. We are from PT Daya Cipta Mandiri Monitoring as a partner EGInnovation. Webinar ini akan dimoderatori oleh Pangki Christian selaku Direktur PT Daya Cipta Mandiri Monitoring. Dan untuk narasumber akan disampaikan oleh Srinivas Ramanathan selaku Presiden, Founder, and Chief Executive Officer EGInnovation. This webinar will be moderated by Pangki Christian, Director of PT Daya Cipta Mandiri Monitoring. The speaker will be presented by Srinivas Ramanathan as a President, Founder, and Chief Executive Officer of EGInnovation. Please, the screen is yours.
Baik, terima kasih Mbak Nurma. Selamat siang rekan-rekan semua. Selamat bertemu kembali di dalam sesi lanjutan pembahasan kita mengenai Managed Service Provider. Dan kali ini, hari ini kita akan membahas bersama dengan EGInnovation, Software Tools that Manage Service Provider Need. Jadi ini salah satu hal yang penting di banyak perusahaan Managed Service Provider. Saya yakin di sini juga banyak teman-teman yang dari Managed Service Provider bisa hadir bersama dengan kita dan menggali lebih banyak bagaimana EGInnovation nanti bisa membantu ya teman-teman semua. Juga dari data yang ada saya lihat banyak teman-teman juga dari end user atau dari customer ya yang ingin tahu tentang bagaimana solusi EGInnovation ini bisa membantu teman-teman semua. Nah, nanti kita akan dengar langsung dari sumbernya. Jadi ini saya sangat bersyukur sekali dalam kesempatan siang kali ini hadir Mr. Srinivas Ramanathan. Mr. Srinivas, how are you, Mr. Srinivas? Hello, Mr. Srinivas. Yeah.
One second. Yeah, hi. Thank you for inviting us to be on this webinar, Frankie.
Yeah. So this Mr. Srinivas Ramanathan, President and Founder and CEO of the EGInnovation. Prior to starting the EGInnovation, Srinivas was a senior research scientist at Hewlett Packard Laboratories in Palo Alto, California. HHP, the Srinivas was the chief architect of Fire Hunter, an ISP performance monitoring solution. He was also the key contributor to the second version of the HP Web QoS product for enabling quality of service of the web application. Srinivas has extensive experience in internet technology, performance monitoring and management, and multimedia system, having co-authored more than 40 technical papers and has been a co-inventor for 14 US patents. He has a PhD in computer science and engineering from University of California, San Diego, and master in computer science from the Indian Institute of Technology, Chennai, India. We welcome Mr. Srinivas to share with us his knowledge and experience related to the managed service provider using the EGInnovation solution. Srinivas, I think I will pass the screen to you. Thank you, Srinivas.
Yeah, thanks, Frankie. I'm not able to share my screen at this point.
Yeah, please do now.
I hope you're able to see my screen.
Yes. Can make it full screen. Sorry, you can make it full screen. Yeah.
Just 1 second. Yeah, so what we are going to be talking about today is modern application, IT application and infrastructure monitoring.
Yes.
You saw a brief glimpse of this on the short video that was played out earlier, but this will be the agenda that I will go through. I'll give you a brief introduction to who we are at EGInnovations. We'll talk about IT monitoring, how it has been done in the past, and how the focus of IT monitoring is changing to look at more of user experience monitoring. In this context, I will introduce the EGInnovations product called EG Enterprise, and we'll spend most of our time today on a live demo of the solution so you can see how it works. Towards the end of the presentation, we'll discuss some examples of how you can get return on investment using a tool like EG Enterprise in your environment. As Frankie said, feel free to share any questions as we go along in this presentation. So just a very quick introduction to who we are at EGInnovations. EGInnovations is a software company. We develop products that help our customers maintain and manage the performance of their key applications and IT environments, irrespective of whether these environments are deployed on physical machines, virtual machines, cloud environments, or hybrid IT environments. We have been in this business for about 21 years now. Headquartered out of Singapore, the company has sales and support offices across the world. Our latest sales and support office is in Indonesia. So we work with hundreds of clients across the world, many leading names. So any IT organization where if you have some downtime or slowness, it matters. The business suffers. Those organizations are good targets for us. I know many of you belong to service providers. We work with over 100 service providers across the globe, where we provide our service providers with solutions that help them deliver value and services to clients. We've been well known for our work in IT monitoring. We were a cool vendor in IT operations management, ranked by Gartner in 2010. We've done a lot of work with desktop virtualization. We are partners of Citrix. We won the Best of Citrix Synergy as a finalist in 2019. We were one of the early vendors working with VMware Technologies. We won the Best of VMworld Award at VMworld 2008. We've also been known for our work with cloud computing. Many leading analysts have rated our solutions very highly for our cloud monitoring capabilities. Our solutions are certified by many of the modern IT vendors. So our solutions are certified by VMware and Citrix to be VMware ready and Citrix ready. We also work closely with Oracle on their virtualization platforms, Nutanix on their hyper-converged infrastructures, also with cloud providers like AWS and Azure. At the bottom of my screen, you will see a number of websites, public sites, where customers have provided feedback on our products. So if you're interested, look at Gartner Peer Insights, where over 80 plus clients have provided feedback on how they've used our solutions. That is a quick overview of who we are at EGInnovations. Now I'm going to switch focus and talk about the main goals of today's webinar, which is to look at IT monitoring and what modern IT monitoring is about. Before we go into how to do modern IT monitoring, let's focus on how the IT landscape has changed. Over the last few years, if you look, there have been enormous changes in the way that IT environments have emerged. The last 2 years, the pandemic has actually accelerated the adoption of some of these technologies. Most companies that I'm aware of are trying to do some form of digitalization or the other, where they're moving away from traditional processes to become more digitized so they can operate in a hybrid model. Cloud adoption has become almost universal today. Virtualization technologies like VMware were hot several years ago. Today, they've been overtaken by technologies like containers and Kubernetes. Now, no longer do you have, if you go to your IT team and ask for a server to be deployed, very highly likely that your servers are going to be deployed on either a virtual platform or even a hyper-converged platform like Nutanix. And as organizations have had to support people working from home, VDI technologies, bring your own desktop technologies have started to emerge. If you're a managed service provider, you have to keep up with these trends. Now, the other thing that is happening, while all these new technologies offer a lot of capabilities, IT environments are becoming more and more complex to manage. When things work, that's great. But when things do not work and you have failures, then it becomes a complex job of figuring out where is the bottleneck, where is the failure point. So about these IT environments, you'll find that they are very dynamic. You'll find that they are heterogeneous. No longer do you have one vendor giving you the server, storage, hardware, virtualization, so on. And there are the interdependencies between technologies. At the same time, IT departments are coming under more and more pressure to ensure that services are up and running. Imagine your employees are working from home and their remote access goes down. You could have hundreds of workers sitting at home, not able to contribute to the business. So every minute, every hour of slow time or downtime costs the business money. This is the challenge most of your customers are facing. It is an opportunity for you as a service provider to address these needs of organizations. Now, IT monitoring, the moment I talk about IT monitoring to anybody, they tend to think about it as it's just about monitoring CPU, memory, and disk utilization. IT monitoring involves CPU, memory, and disk monitoring, but is not the end goal today. It is not enough to look at CPU and memory in order to troubleshoot end user performance. If your user calls and says, their web application access is slow, and you tell them in return, my CPU utilization is good, it doesn't really help. The user is going to complain to your management. Management is going to come back and say, IT did not do the job. So monitoring has to go beyond CPU, memory, and disk metrics. Now, in the IT world, we have no we have a lots of monitoring tools available. Lot of those are fragmented. You want to monitor the network, you have one monitoring tool. You want to monitor the server, there is another monitoring tool. So monitoring tools are very silo-oriented and they are not connected together. Also, many organizations have purchased monitoring tools several years ago. Those monitoring tools were built for physical environments. Today, the landscape has changed. You have more virtual servers, cloud environments, container environments being deployed by your customers. Hence the need to look at modern IT monitoring. So just to add to what I said so far, IT operations and the IT administrators have until now been focused on the nuts and bolts of the infrastructure, CPU, memory, disk, etc. The overall goal of monitoring has been how to keep utilization low, how to save the administrator time and effort. Now, as we move forward, there is a shift that is happening. Your customer is not assessing you by CPU, memory, and disk. Customer management is facing a problem when IT stops working. So it is not about looking at resources. It is very important that you start looking at whether your users of IT are happy or not. So we call this user experience management. So the entire focus of modern IT monitoring has to be on user experience monitoring. I alluded to this a little bit earlier. The effects of poor user experience is vast. When application performance suffers, the business is impacted. Customer satisfaction is impacted. Business productivity is disrupted. You have users at home not able to do their job. And it has a direct effect on the business and profitability of the business. In some cases, it may even have an impact on your brand. Customers may switch brands, may go to your competitor. You go to a banking site, you can't log in several times, or your access is very slow. You might go to another bank that offers you better access. So IT performance is actually becoming a differentiator for organizations that do most of their work online. So the focus of modern IT monitoring has to be on user experience monitoring. Now, what do I mean by user experience monitoring? Of course, it is very important that you get fast response time and good throughput. That is the #1 criteria for good user experience. However, user experience monitoring is not just about fast response time. When you have a problem, if the problem is not correctly diagnosed, the same issue may occur again and again. Users will get frustrated. So diagnosing problems accurately is a second criteria for user experience monitoring. Now, when you have a problem, if your service provider takes several days to solve the problem, that can get to be frustrating for the user. So how quickly, as a service provider, can you diagnose and resolve the problem becomes an important criteria. The faster you can resolve the problem accurately, the more happy your users are going to be. The same time, as a service provider, you want to be proactive. You don't want to fix a problem after it is broken, after your customer notices and starts complaining to you. At that time, you're on the back foot. Ideally, you want to know ahead of time that a problem is going to happen and you can fix it without your users even noticing it. So how can you be proactive? Finally, you want to plan intelligently. Workloads will change over time. New applications may come on board. How do you ensure that you are prepared, that you've planned in advance and you're delivering value to the business. So everybody, the management is happy, users are happy, you're successful as a service provider. So this is going to be the focus of what we are going to cover today. How do you monitor user experience from all these different perspectives and ensure that your customers' management is happy and that your customers' users are happy? I just want to pause here and see if Fanky has anything to add or any questions that I have to answer before we move forward. Fanky?
Yeah, I want to highlight something. Oke, Bapak Ibu rekan-rekan, jadi memang tadi kita sudah melihat apa yang disampaikan oleh Srinivas. Jadi sekarang ini ada perbedaan, ya. Jadi tidak hanya kaitannya dengan apa yang tadi disebut resource monitoring, karena biasanya kalau kita di MSP atau kita menggunakan software-software untuk monitoring ini karena kita ingin memonitor resource, ya. Tapi sekarang tidak hanya resource. Ini hal menarik karena sekarang ini lebih banyak ke performance monitoring gitu ya. Dan apa yang tadi kita lihat ini menjadi penting karena user experience ya, pengalaman user ini menjadi salah satu titik yang penting yang disampaikan oleh Srinivas. Nah, yang tadi kita lihat juga bahwa di dalam user experience ini memang ini menjadi satu fokus yang baru dari modern IT monitoring ya. Yang dimana ini perlu respon yang cepat, kemudian bagaimana bisa melakukan diagnosa atas permasalahan yang muncul, kemudian bisa melakukan penyelesaian atau resolve ya problemnya ini dengan cepat, dan juga harus proaktif ya, tapi tidak meninggalkan, bisa melakukan perencanaan dengan baik. Nah, ini semua yang disampaikan tadi. Oke, Srinivas, I think can we mix up with the Q&A or just we will continue with the presentation first, yeah, and later on we do the Q&A, okay?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, please continue.
So as I mentioned today, there are many tools that IT organizations have access to. In fact, we have way too many tools. Most of these tools are disjointed. So when the user complains that there is a problem, you have to look across multiple tools to figure out what is actually going on. The result is you need somebody, your IT administrator has to be an expert at all of these tools. And even then, it is going to take a long time to troubleshoot problems effectively. So what IT organizations need is not more and more consoles, but actually the ability to consolidate all these tools to be able to easily pinpoint where are the bottlenecks in the infrastructure. So if you ask me, the toughest IT problem of today is when a user calls you and says, my application is slow, or my virtual desktop is slow. From the user side, the user doesn't know the complexity of the underlying infrastructure. They do not know if you're hosting an application in the cloud or on-premise. They do not know what type of database you're using, nor do they care. Once you, as the IT admin, get a call saying, my application is slow, you have to do a number of things. You have to quickly figure out, is the problem due to the application code? Is it the server? Is it the workload? Could it be an issue with the cloud? Is it a storage issue? Where is it? So this problem of troubleshooting performance issues is what I believe is the toughest IT issue facing administrators today. Now, if you want to solve this problem, sometimes the issue is in the application. Sometimes the issue is on the infrastructure side. If you look at what tools are out there in the market, tools like SolarWinds are IT infrastructure monitoring tools. They look at the network, they look at storage, they look at the server. So that is where infrastructure monitoring comes in. There are other sets of tools like Cisco's App Dynamics or Dynatrace that focus on the application stack. Look at the code. Now, when a user calls and says, my application is slow, the issue could be anywhere. It could be the application or the infrastructure. So when we looked at how to solve this problem, we came up with this concept of a converged application and infrastructure monitoring solution. One tool that can do both application monitoring and infrastructure monitoring from the same console. So it makes your job easier because you get insights into both the application and the infrastructure side. So this is what our EGInnovation solution does. And I'm going to go deeper into how EGInnovation works and give you a quick demo. Thank you. Let me pause here and see if you have anything to add.
Ya, jadi tadi kita sudah lihat banyak sekali yang sering kali muncul ya di lingkungan kita untuk terkait dengan problem. Ini biasanya kaitannya dengan aplikasinya slow ya. Mungkin Bapak Ibu rekan-rekan juga sering merasakan aplikasi kita slow di kantor atau di ini problem nih aplikasi kita mikirnya aplikasi problem atau mungkin di codingnya atau mungkin di servernya atau mungkin di virtual cloud platformnya atau di infrastruktur. Nah, jadi kebanyakan kan sebagai besar dulu saya waktu kerja di bank itu paling sering yang disalahin itu pasti infrastruktur gitu ya. Nah, jadi atau malah kalau sekarang storage-nya atau di jaringannya. Nah, inilah yang menjadi concern kita kalau terkait dengan monitoring ya, IT monitoring. Nah, yang dilakukan dengan EG ini mereka memberikan solusi converge ya antara aplikasi dan IT infrastructure monitoring. Nah, paling mudah memang melihatnya dalam bentuk adalah melakukan performance aplikasinya terlebih dahulu. Karena biasa ini yang paling dirasakan oleh user ya dalam tahap awal. Jadi application performance monitoring ini menjadi kunci penting ya. Tentu di bawahnya perlu ada IT infrastructure monitoring. Nah, kedua fitur ini yang digabungkan di dalam EGInnovation ya. Go ahead, Sinawas.
So let me talk about EGInnovation, which is our flagship product. Now, the way that EGInnovation works is shown on the screen. Now, when you're talking about monitoring network devices, SNMP is a standard. However, if you want to monitor cloud, if you want to monitor containers, if you want to monitor applications, SNMP is no longer a standard. So our solution collects data from multiple sources in the environment. It collects this data, passes it to a machine learning algorithm. The machine learning algorithm analyzes millions of metrics, comes back and tells us where will the problems likely be. We then look at the different dependencies that exist in your environment. We look at application to application dependencies, application to network dependencies, virtual machine to storage dependencies, and based on all these dependencies, we are then able to come back and tell you, here is where the root cause of a problem lies. In some sense, to draw a medical analogy, EGInnovations is like a general physician for your IT environment. So when you're not well, you go to the general physician. What do you tell him or her? I'm actually not well. What does the physician have to do? They check different metrics about your health. Based on that, they come to a conclusion, and then they give you a medicine to say, have this medicine, it will solve the problem for you. EGInnovation is a service monitoring solution that functions like a general physician for your IT environment. Frankie, do you want to add to that?
Ya, jadi di dalam Enterprise ini mereka melakukan pengumpulan data, aggregation dari data ini dari IT infrastructure ya. Kemudian apa saja yang dikoleksi, jadi ini ada banyak hal ya, mulai dari custom metric, kemudian ada transaction, kemudian database query dan lain sebagainya, Windows event. Nah, kumpulan dari ini dilakukan machine learning. Nah, ini yang menarik karena memang dalam banyak platform model-model seperti ini memang diterapkan ya. Nah, EG juga melakukan hal ini lebih baik. Kemudian dengan adanya machine learning ini mereka bisa melakukan perbandingan dengan baseline metrik yang sudah ada. Ya, tentu di sini nanti bisa dilakukan dependency mapping ya, hubungan antara satu dengan yang lain ya. Aplikasi ini dampaknya kemana, kemudian aplikasi ke aplikasi ini bagaimana hubungannya, aplikasi ke network bagaimana hubungannya. Nah, ini tentu akan memudahkan kita menemukan apa akar permasalahan atau root cause ya dari permasalahan yang ada, karena memang harus ada kemampuan untuk bisa melakukan analisa secara intelligence ya. Go ahead, Srinivas.
So because different customers may have different environments, out of the box, our solution can support a wide variety of technologies. We support monitoring for about 200 plus applications, 10 plus virtualization technologies, 20 plus storage device types. If you want to see a full list of technologies that we support, please go to our website, EGInnovations.com. Now, from a service provider perspective, there are two different ways in which you can deploy our solution. Our solution works on a manager-agent architecture. You deploy a central manager, and then you deploy agent or agentless monitors in the customer environment for monitoring purposes. Now, one model is to deploy a manager for each customer that you're supporting. A more cost-effective way of doing this is by using a central manager to support multiple customers. So customers only have to install agents. Once they install the agent, it talks to a management server in the cloud. Each customer, when they log in, get to see the view of just their environment. We call this multi-tenancy. Multiple customers hosted on the same management server. From a managed service provider perspective, this is extremely simple to deploy. It is cost effective as well. If you look at the arrows, all the communications between our agents and the management console happen over HTTPS. So it's secure and is unidirectional from the customer environment to the management server in the cloud. So this means you don't have to open any new rules in your firewalls to allow the monitoring system to go through. So both models are possible. You can deploy management server in your customer premise and have your customer use it. You can also deploy a central management server in the cloud and have multiple customers reporting to it. Now, while our solution can cover a lot of areas, there are four main areas where our solution is very, very good at. So these are the four areas that I'm going to cover today. First one is monitoring application performance. And by application performance, I'm focused mainly on web applications. Over 80% of applications being deployed in the enterprise are web apps, running either Java or .NET or PHP or Node.js. Our solution can give you code level visibility to be able to tell you which line of code in your application is slowing down. I'll show you this with a quick example today. At the same time, the same product can also be used to monitor digital workspaces. Many organizations are employing technologies like Citrix, VMware Horizon, Azure Virtual Desktop to allow people to work from home, or have thin clients that connect to desktops within the corporate data center. EGInnovations has a lot of expertise monitoring these thin client or end user computing environments. So that is our second use case. So if you've got a customer with Citrix or VMware Horizon or Azure Virtual Desktop, we've got unique capabilities that allow you to showcase yourself as an expert in that area. We also have monitoring capabilities for enterprise applications. We are an SAP partner. We support the entire spectrum of SAP applications within our tool set. We also have monitoring support for Office 365. If your customer, when your customer deployed Microsoft Exchange on premise, they had good visibility. Exchange had good tools. You could look at what is the queuing, how your applications were working, etc. When you move to the cloud, if you move to Office 365, you lose visibility. And you're often wondering, when your Teams call is poor, is it because of you or because of Azure that your call quality was poor? We can give you insights that help you understand where is the bottleneck when accessing Office 365. We also have many clients who use our solutions for end-to-end monitoring. These clients are telling us, I am tired of having one tool for network, another tool for storage, yet another for cloud. I want one single pane of glass from where I can look at everything that I want to monitor. And so the fourth use case is unified monitoring. Frankie, I'll pause here. I'm going to go into a quick demo, but before I do that, is there anything else you want to summarize?
Ya, jadi Bapak Ibu rekan-rekan, jadi tadi kita sudah melihat bagaimana implementasinya ya di MSP. Kalau di MSP itu tadi ditunjukkan di layar yang sebelumnya, modelnya ada yang agent based dan agentless ya. Jadi dengan mudah, kemudian mereka kalau agent based berarti kalau agentless mereka juga bisa ada EG remote data collector ya. Jadi itu yang mengambil datanya kemudian kirim datanya ke managed service provider, mungkin ada di cloud, mungkin ada di ini, itu dengan menggunakan HTTPS. Ya, jadi harusnya komunikasinya ke central EG manajernya nih mudah ya karena cukup menggunakan HTTPS. Kemudian tadi juga disampaikan oleh Srinivas bahwa 80% dari aplikasi yang sekarang ada di enterprise di perusahaan Bapak Ibu sekarang kebanyakan sudah web based ya, karena sudah web based jadi application performance monitoring ini menjadi salah satu hal penting yang banyak dicari perusahaan-perusahaan di Indonesia saat ini. Kemudian juga tidak ketinggalan ya di skala enterprise juga banyak yang menerapkan solusi Citrix ya, VMware Horizon, dan mungkin di AWS itu digunakan untuk digital workspace ya. Jadi kita bekerja secara digital dengan tools-tools yang dari produk-produk tadi. Nah, itu digital workspace juga bisa dimonitor. Kemudian spesifik ke enterprise application. Nah, ini spesifik ke enterprise application, ada beberapa produk yang bisa dimonitor dengan baik. Contoh teman-teman yang menggunakan SAP, menggunakan Office 365 ya, Office 365, ini menjadi sangat terbantu dengan adanya solusi EG Enterprise ya. Okay, please go ahead.
I think there's been a question asking about comparison with other tools. So let me quickly address this here and you'll see more as I go into a quick demo. Now, if we look at, there are many monitoring tools out there. Most of them will monitor your network, server, storage, etc. But very few have expertise in digital workspaces. So we are probably the market leading tool for monitoring digital workspaces. We can do it way better. You look at tools like SolarWinds, Datadog, Dynatrace, they cannot monitor digital workspaces at all. So that is one clear differentiator between us and the other tools. If you look in the application performance monitoring space, there are tools like Dynatrace, App Dynamics, and so on that can do application performance very well. The challenge with those tools is that they are extremely expensive. They license based on CPU cores. They license based on number of Java instances. So the bigger the server, the more the cost.
Yeah.
With EGInnovation, our licensing is based on the number of server operating systems we support. So we don't consider CPU, we don't consider number of instances, we consider number of operating systems. That makes our solution much more effective for application performance monitoring than some of the other tools that are out there. Frankie, did you want to add something?
Ya. Jadi pertanyaan tadi saya lihat juga banyak menanyakan perbandingan dengan produk-produk lain. Tadi sudah disampaikan Perbedaannya di EG memang lebih kuat di application performance monitoring dan digital workspace ya. Secara khusus digital workspace sebetulnya kita pernah angkat juga di webinar sebelumnya. Ini memang kemampuan untuk monitoring digital workspace tidak banyak dimiliki oleh software-software yang lain ya. Dengan adanya fokus di sini, memang ini membuat diferensiasi perbedaan dari EG Enterprise ya. Oke.
Okay, so let's move into a quick demo of the solution. I think there are a lot of questions coming in, so I'll try to address those very quickly. As I mentioned, one of the first things that you need to do with monitoring is you need the ability to understand what are your users seeing. It's not enough to monitor CPU memory disk. You need to understand user experience. What is the latency? Are users seeing any errors, etc.? So there are two different approaches for monitoring user experience. One is synthetic, the other is looking at real users. In EGInnovation, we support both options. Synthetic monitoring means you're actually creating a software robot. The robot does the same things that a typical user will. So if you look at a web application, here is a series of transactions with the web application that a robot can be programmed to do. So you could open a portal, sign into the portal, do some work inside the portal, finally make a payment and sign out. Now, as you click through these screens, the robot can actually, we provide you with a recording tool. The recording tool will capture all your clicks, and from there it'll create a script, which you then provide to a playback tool. So this is how the recording tool will work. You enter the URL that you want to access. You click the record button to start the simulation. You then get a browser window where you keep doing your work. As you keep doing work on the browser window, the window on the right will keep getting updated. That is where we are building the script. Now, once we build the script, if you then replay that script, you will see a dashboard like what I've shown on my screen. Every click, every step of the transaction is tracked here. You will see whether each step succeeded or not. You will see the time taken for each step, and a tick mark is telling me that step worked or didn't work. By quickly looking at this, you can see the overall time for each step. If there is slowness in one step, you will know about it. At the same time, if there is a failure, you will see an X mark, so you'll know exactly which step failed. Now, when there is a failure, the system will also automatically capture a screenshot. So if you click on the camera icon next to the screenshot that failed, you will be able to see the exact screenshot that occurred when a failure happened. So this is an example of what we call as synthetic monitoring, where we are actually creating a software robot that simulates your application. I'm going to move to talk about real user monitoring next, but before that, I'll pause to see if Frankie has anything to add. Frankie?
Ya, jadi Bapak Ibu tadi kita udah lihat bagaimana melakukan itunya ya, jadi melakukan pertama prosesnya ya, jadi cukup mudah sekali sebetulnya. Karena kita karena nanti dia akan melakukan simulasi ya, seolah-olah dia jadi user ya, kita melakukan aktivitas kita biasa, kemudian dia ambil screen kita dan dia bikin skripnya di belakang, kemudian dia melakukan melihat proses transaksinya ya, dari flow visualisasinya dia lihat, kemudian dari situ nanti dia bisa melakukan problem diagnosanya dari situ. Oke, nanti kita lihat yang satu lagi yang ini ya, yang user experience ya. Go ahead, Srinivas.
Okay, so ideally you want the monitoring tool to both simulate, because synthetic monitoring is important when nobody is logged in. Let us assume you had a problem at 2 a.m. in the morning. Now, real users are not going to be on your system, so you would never know about the problem until 7 a.m. If you keep running synthetic monitoring 24/7, it will give you early warning notice that you're having a problem, so you can fix it. At the same time, it is not sufficient to just have robots monitoring your environment. You need to look at real users. There are different ways of looking at real users. If I was monitoring a Citrix environment, I would tap into Citrix and Windows APIs to look at real user metrics. If I was looking at SAP, I would look at SAP APIs to understand who is accessing the system and what latencies are they seeing. What I'm going to show in a live demo now is the ability to monitor real users for web applications. Web applications are relatively standard. They render content as HTML. JavaScript is used for front-end processing. And so what we use for real user monitoring is JavaScript injection. JavaScript injection has been used in the past by tools like Google Analytics. If you sign up for Google to look at who's accessing your website, Google will give you a small piece of JavaScript code. Take that code, add it to your application, and then Google will start tracking who came to your website, which pages did they go to. Google is using this data for marketing. We use the same data, but we use it for performance. We give you a similar JavaScript code. Take that code, add it to your application. When you add it to your application, you can either edit your application pages and add it, or there are simple ways in which you can add that script through a load balancer like F5 or through a web server like Apache. So you don't have to change your application to make this work. Basically, the way it works, when your JavaScript code is downloaded by the browser, it executes on the browser, it sends back data to our analytics engine. The data that it sends back will include the IP address that you access the page from, which page did you access, how long did it take to access that page, what other images or other type of content was downloaded, etc., etc. Now, using that data that our analytics engine has collected, we will then be able to present different dashboards to you. To show these dashboards, I'm now going to open a browser window and log into the tool. I think there was a question regarding whether this tool is web-based. You'll be able to see from my console that this tool is only web-based. We do not have a thick client console. You can open the browser, go to our management server, and from there you can look at all the metrics we collect in the tool. Now, the colors we use in the tool are fairly standard. Green means things are working well. Different shades of red indicate different levels of problems. I'm currently logged in as an IT manager for an organization where I'm monitoring 21 different elements in my environment. Some of the elements I'm monitoring are applications like WebLogic servers, databases. Some are network equipment like Cisco, Big IP. We also monitor infrastructure elements like storage. We can also monitor your VMware environment as well. So one of the questions that came up was whether your tool is specific to VMware. The answer is no. We can monitor any type of hypervisor, any type of application. So Java applications, .NET applications, SAP applications, Citrix applications, VMware, Nutanix, Microsoft Hyper-V, we support all of the above. Now, remember when I said I wanted to answer the toughest IT question, why is my application slow? So in this example, I've got a couple of business applications. We call them as services in my infrastructure. One of them is a PeopleSoft application, which seems to be working well. You see that from the green tick mark. The second application is called EasyCart. And currently from the color, you can see that EasyCart is having a problem. When I click on EasyCart, the first thing that we will show you is what is your user experience. The dashboard that you're seeing on my screen is the result of real user monitoring. We added that small piece of JavaScript code. Every user who accesses your application is now downloading that code And from there, we are able to tell you what is going on with your application. How much traffic are you getting right now? How many users are on your application right now? What is your page load time like? Normally, for good performance, page load time should be 4 to 8 seconds. Today, it is taking 14 seconds for my pages to load. Therefore, I know I have a problem. Notice the color next to page load time is telling me there is a problem. It is not a green tick mark. It's actually a yellow icon telling me there is some problem with page load time. So it is good to know that I have slowness issue. The question that you're going to ask me next is, where is the problem? So the bottom panels on this screen give you more idea of where is the problem. First thing we do, we take the IP address, find out which countries are people coming from. Is the slowness limited to people from one country? Look at the response time for different countries, and you will see that the slowness is not specific to one country. So the problem is severe. Same way, is the problem specific to one URL? You can look at the different URLs that were accessed. You see that the response time is high for all the URLs. So my problem is not limited to one page, but is actually an issue across my site. The next question I'm trying to answer now is to say, where is the slowness? Is it due to the network? Is it due to the content? Is it due to the server? Is it due to the browser? Look at the graphic that you see on the screen. It tells you how much time is being spent on the network, how much time is being spent downloading the content, how much time is being spent rendering the content on the browser, and how much time was spent waiting for the server to respond to you. Looking at the numbers, you can see out of the 14 seconds, very little time was spent on the network. It is not a network problem. It is not a content problem. It is not a browser problem. It is a server-side problem. So this is what real user monitoring helps you with. Put a small piece of JavaScript code. It tells you how many people are coming to your site. It tells you if your page load time is low. And it tells you, is the problem in the network? Is it content? Is it server? Where is it? Now, I'm going to give you more insights to troubleshoot the problem further, because you're going to ask me, why was server time 12 seconds? I'm going to show you how to troubleshoot it with my tool. But before I get there, I want to pause and see if Frankie has anything else to add here.
Ya,
Frankie?
ya. Jadi rekan-rekan tadi udah lihat ya bagaimana real user monitoring ini diterapkan. Dan kita sudah lihat tadi ini salah satu bentuk dashboard yang kita lihat untuk performance dashboard dari salah satu dalam sampel ini adalah apa tuh? EasyCard ya, EasyCard. Jadi kita lihat tadi kelihatan bahwa performance ya dari load time-nya juga dari page load time-nya bisa. Nah, bagaimana ini bisa terjadi? Karena dia pasang script JavaScript kecil di page-nya gitu ya. Nah, jadi ini sangat memudahkan kita untuk bisa melakukan analisa ya atas problem yang mungkin terjadi di dalam aplikasi kita ya. Kemudian juga bisa tadi kita lihat analisanya, oh ternyata munculnya tidak hanya di dalam satu page saja, tapi ada sekelompok page yang juga loadingnya juga problem tinggi gitu ya. Jadi itu muncul juga analisa tambahannya di situ. Oke, jadi itu singkatnya. Next, Srinivas.
Yeah, so let's now try to figure out why is it taking 12 seconds or 12,000 milliseconds on the server side. When I click on the magnifying glass, at this point, I'm digging deeper into your service. Today's environments are not simple client-server environments. there are multiple servers that are involved in supporting the service. This topology graph helps me understand how my IT application or service is structured. User connects through a router, through a load balancer, to a web server. The web server has behind it two WebLogic application engines, which talk to two other middleware engines that talk to a database instance. I have agents or agentless monitors deployed in each of these tiers. These monitors are coming back and telling me how is the health of all of these tiers. Now notice here, anything which is green is doing well. Anything not green is having a problem. So I have problems in several places in my infrastructure. And at this point, you're going to ask me the question, where is the real issue? Now, as an IT manager, all I need to do is focus on the color codes. I have problems in several places, but the darker color code is telling me, look at my database for more details. Frankie?
Ya, jadi di tampilan ini kita bisa lihat ya perangkat-perangkat yang terkoneksi untuk satu jenis layanan menuju ke terkait dengan aplikasi apa saja gitu ya. Jadi mulai dari networknya, kalau statusnya ini tidak hijau itu berarti ada masalah ya dengan si perangkatnya gitu ya. Go ahead.
So let me click on my database server to figure out what is going on. When I drill down into my database, the software is smart enough to tell me the database is running in a virtual environment. The database is running on a virtual machine that is hosted on VMware. Look at the color. The database is hot, but the VMware server it's running on is hotter. So the real issue is with VMware and not with the database engine. This is the effect of the problem. The cause of the problem is probably within the VMware server. So now I'm going to drill down into VMware to see exactly where the problem lies. Frankie?
Ya, jadi tadi kita lihat yang warna merah ini adalah di VMware-nya gitu ya. Jadi nanti kita suspek ini berarti ada masalah gitu kan. Kemudian tadi di Oracle-nya kan warning ya. Jadi kita udah lihat warnanya kuning dan ini mereka dipasang di satu VMware. Nah, jadi kita bisa drill down masuk ke dalam VMware mesinnya. Go ahead.
So when I click on VMware, at this point, I'm drilling into the VMware server to see how it is performing. I may just be a help desk person who doesn't understand VMware technology very well. I could be a system engineer, but I'm not the VMware expert. Now with this tool, I can easily see what are the different layers within VMware. And I can answer a number of simple questions. How is the VMware server's hardware? How are the fans? How are the processors? How is voltage? How is temperature, etc. A tick mark is telling me my hardware is okay. The network connectivity is okay. My virtual machines look like they're okay. There is a problem in the hypervisor. At the hypervisor level, I can look at my data stores, memory, processors, etc. Currently, I have a problem with the data store. My data store is almost 100% full. So what has happened here? The VMware server ran out of storage space. When the VMware server ran out of storage space, the database engine could not do its job. The database is having problems. When the database is having problems, the application that uses the database is having problems. So you have a ripple effect, a problem in one place affecting a number of places. So what I've done with this tool is I've been able to go from a user problem, user telling me my application is slow. I've been able to come back and say the real problem is the fact that there is a space usage issue within VMware. Now, these drill downs that I showed you were more for you to understand where the real problems are and how the tool works. In reality, I don't have to click through so many times. Look at the small window, which tells me what are the problems in my infrastructure right now. Notice that problems are color coded. The most important issue is the one that you see right on top. It tells you the problem is with VMware. It tells you there is a space usage issue on your data store. We could have sent this information to you over email as a short SMS message. We could have told you this even before the problem became severe. So that way you could have taken action and fixed the issue. Now, in this example, notice that user experience, server time being high for page views is marked as a yellow problem, telling you that it is an effect. The cause of the issue is what you see right on top, the VMware issue. So this is what I mean by converged application and infrastructure monitoring. The tool is able to look at the network, the storage, the application, connect the dots together, and be able to tell you where is the real problem in your infrastructure. So this is the value of our tool. Frankie?
Jadi yang tadi kita lihat, begitu kita drill down masuk ke dalam VMware mesinnya, kelihatan informasinya ternyata si storage dari VMware-nya ini yang bermasalah atau sudah hampir full gitu ya. Jadi dengan drill down ini kita bisa melakukan analisa lebih baik. Kemudian tadi alertnya sebetulnya nanti pasti kita akan terima juga by email ya intinya. Okay, next.
Yeah, so this was an example where you looked at performance from the infrastructure side with VMware. Now, just to give you an idea of what we can do on the application side, I have gone to one of our middleware engines, which is running a Java application, and you can see the different URLs that are being accessed. You can see that one of the URLs is showing 100% of transactions are slow. When you click on any of these slow transactions, we can give you full details of what those transactions were, including the name of the user, which URL was accessed, what time did the transaction come in at, how much time did it take for the response. If you want to dig deeper into this particular transaction, click on the magnifying glass again. And at this point, you will see a graphical view of how the request was processed. The total transaction took 14 seconds. You can see how much time was spent in Java, how much time was spent in database queries, how much time was spent sending messages over MQ, or even with remote HTTP calls. Looking at the numbers, you can see of the 14,000 milliseconds, 12,000 milliseconds happen to be on the database side. So you can easily see, click further, and you will be able to see exactly what queries were issued on the database side. So if one of your queries was much slower than the other, you can call your DBA and work with them to tune your query as well. So this is an example of where the tool goes beyond just looking at your application as processes. It goes to tell you which line of code, which query was issued, how long each query took, how long each method call took, etc. Frankie?
Ya, jadi mereka juga punya kemampuan untuk bisa melihat lebih dalam lagi di sisi misalnya database query. Karena kan tadi query-nya lambat, database-nya lambat gitu ya, page loading-nya kan lambat, kenapa gitu kan. Nah ternyata dari database query-nya. Karena ini pengaruh sekali ya di database query-nya. Begitu kita lihat ke dalam, ini kelihatan informasinya ya. Go ahead.
So with the same tool, what I've shown you so far are the dashboards built into the tool. You also have the ability to create your own dashboard. My dashboard allows you to create your own dashboard. So if you feel you want to see metrics in a very different view, you can click on my dashboard. You will see different types of dashboards with the tool. This is an example of a dashboard that we built. You can actually see multiple dashboards. You can build your own dashboard with the tool as well. Now, in the reporting engine, you will be able to see historical data. If you want to see what happened in the past, yesterday what happened, day before what happened, you can look at different types of reports that we have in the tool. reports for executives, reports for IT operations people, even reports for experts, for virtualization experts, web application experts, etc. The reports that you see in the tool, you can save as PDF. You can have it emailed to your colleague. You can even have the report scheduled so it can be automatically delivered into your inbox. So that was a quick look at how the solution worked. Now, there were some questions regarding alerting and mobile app and so on. So I'll cover some of those questions here. So all the alerts that you see in the tool, we can send as email. A single email will contain all the details. What was the problem? We can show you a graph of the metric over time to highlight how long the problem has been at. We can give you more details about the problem, so you don't have to even log into the tool to understand the nature of the problem. We also support, we have a mobile app. So if you're not next to your computer, you can use your mobile phone, smartphone to look at the dashboards, to acknowledge alerts, to delete alerts. So all of those you can do from our mobile app as well. There was also a question on licensing. Our licensing model for our tool is very simple. We use the concept of universal monitoring. We give you one agent that knows how to monitor all of the technologies that we support out of the box. So it is the same agent you would install for a Java app. It's the same agent you would install to monitor Oracle. It's the same agent you would install to monitor Citrix. Our licensing is based on the number of operating systems. It is not dependent on whether you have 2, 4, 8, or 16 CPUs. If you have multiple applications on the same server, it is just one license. So count the number of operating systems that you have for application monitoring. That is the number of licenses you need. If you want to monitor a virtual environment running VMware, Nutanix, or others, count the number of hypervisors, the physical servers that you have. That is the number of licenses that you need. So at a high level, that is the way we license our technology. Thank you.
Yeah, okay. I think it's already clear.
Okay. So
Is there any? Yeah. Okay.
Let me proceed further. We also already discussed reports. There was a question on integration with other tools. The solution can be used to integrate with your service desk tools. So if you're using ServiceNow, or you're using one of the other modern ITSM tools, or if you're using Autotask, which happens to be widely used by managed service providers, we integrate with all those tools as well. Well, what I mean by integration is when we detect an alert, we can automatically open an incident in these tools. So you don't need a human to be involved. We also can automatically close the incident when the problem goes away. There was also a question on APIs. Our solution has APIs available. So if you want to export information from our tool, you can use our APIs, export the data from our tool, import it back into a tool like Microsoft Power BI, and create your own reports as well. A very quick example of return on investment with our tool. This is the data that we obtained from one of our customers. This is a top 50 bank in the US. They looked at how long it took to detect and fix problems before they had EG and after they had EG. The blue line bar is what they were getting before EG. It was taking them 27 minutes to detect a problem and resolve it. Some of the problems could be, this was on an average, so across both small and large problems. Once they had EG Enterprise in place, this number came down by about 33%. So they estimated about 4,500 fewer customers that were impacted by a problem because they were able to detect problems faster. Another benefit that the customer saw was in terms of the number of experts that they needed to have on incident calls. Now, in this chart, the rows represent the number of servers impacted by a problem. The columns represent experts that they need to bring in when a problem happened. So if there was a problem that impacted multiple data centers, they needed to have multiple experts coming in. Now, before EG, complex problems required a lot of experts to come in. Once they had EG Enterprise deployed, the orange boxes represent savings in terms of number of people that they did not need to be present on a call. So by having fewer people on an incident call, they were able to save on operations costs. So in summary, their estimate was when they deployed our solution, they obtained some of these benefits: improved uptime for their services, lowered downtime. Based on the number of incidents that they had over a year, they estimated the cost savings to be about $750,000 US. Our tool also enabled them to have fewer people on a bridge call. That enabled their IT team to be more productive. The savings from this was about $150,000. The tool also, I've not given you examples here, but the tool also gave them early warning indicators so they could be proactive and could fix problems before the users complained. And the cost savings from that came up to about $600,000. So all in all, the tool paid back for itself. The ROI of the tool was fairly significant for this customer. So hopefully I've given you an idea of where IT monitoring is going in the new cloud and container era. And the focus has shifted from monitoring resources to monitoring user experience. And EG Enterprise is well positioned to help you not just deal with improved performance from a response time perspective, but it can also help you diagnose problems quickly, resolve them quickly, be proactive, and even plan intelligently so you're never caught off guard. Thank you very much for your attention. I'll take one other question that I can see on my phone right now, which is regarding security of the tool. The question was regarding how do you ensure that because you're collecting transaction data, this data is not misused? A couple of answers for that. One is, if you're deploying this on premises, no data leaves the customer side. Therefore, all the ownership of the data is with the customer. If you're deploying this in a multi-tenant manner in the cloud, the details of we are only looking at the HTTP URL. We are looking at business data that you've told us about. So if you want to know which is a user and you've given us the string that matches to a particular user column in the input field, we will only be looking at it. We are not actually parsing the HTTP body, which is where the details of what is your bank account number and other details are stored.
Yes.
So we do not collect personal information like IDs or account numbers and so on. All we are collecting is looking at what is obtained in the HTTP headers and in select fields in the body that you might have asked us to look at. I hope you found what I've presented today useful. I'll take any further questions that you may have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Srinivas. I think I want to highlight some question. Yeah. Number one is from Agus, Pak Agus Nurhalim. For the customer that already have many monitoring system, how they can use EGInnovation solution?
Couple of answers for that. Yeah. One is we first of all we try to focus on gaps. Right? If you've got 100, if your customer's 100% happy with what they have, then that is not a case where we will try to push our solution in. There are areas where we think the 4 areas that I spoke about are obviously gaps for many customers. Very few tools that do digital workspaces well. APM, there are tools like Dynatrace that do a good job, but many clients have not deployed those tools widely because of cost. So that is a gap. You can use our tool. We are probably 1/5 or 1/10 the cost of competing solutions in the application performance monitoring space. So you could use our tool to fill in the gaps that you may have where Dynatraces cannot be deployed because it is too expensive. So first and foremost, we try to focus on a gap area and add value to you. Now, once you have started using our tool, then we understand what you're using your existing tools for. There may be opportunities to sunset other tools. So for example, we can monitor network devices without a significant added cost. So if you're using yet another network monitoring tool, maybe there is an opportunity to consolidate monitoring into our tool and thereby reduce the number of tools that you're using in your organization. So that is the second answer. Third, if you want to continue using other tools, there are ways in which you can feed alerts from those tools into our tool as SNMP traps. We also can go the other way, where our tool can feed alerts or incidents to other tools. So both two-way integration is possible, both in terms of traps into our tool as well as outbound traps from our tool.
Yeah, I think EG has a strong focus. I think that's a good one, and also the integration part. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, let me see again, because some question you already answer in the previous slides. Let's see from
Maybe,
Pak Wahyu.
thank you. Maybe
Yes.
this is Timothy. Yeah, maybe I'd like to add some of the other reasons why some customers choose to use EG also. I think one of the main reason is that while they have other tools, they struggle to find the performance root cause, and a lot of our customers who are doing managed services, who are having SLA with customers, they struggle because there's too much data from different tools. And whenever there is a problem, they find that they are taking too much time to look through too many sets of data from network tools, data from system tools, data from logs and everywhere, just to figure out where the issues are. And because of the time that it takes to come to this conclusion of where the bottleneck is, they fail their SLA, right? And that is one of the primary reasons, right? They are looking at an outcome. And the outcome they wanted to look at was, if something happened, regardless if it's a network, system, application, is it physical environment, is it a cloud environment, is it a virtualized environment, whether it is desktop, virtual desktop environment, or is it server environment, they want to very quickly, right, through the same skill set that they have, that means their level 1 support, to identify where is the performance root cause. And they find that they can get that in EG a lot easier as compared to having to manage many tools that they have, right? So this is one of the most important reasons my customers who are MSPs or who are managing for their customers select EG, right? And there are many other reasons, but this is one of the most compelling reasons why they work with EG.
Yeah, thanks for that, Tim. Yeah, the next question, I think Pak Lutfi. I think Pak Lutfi has so many questions, but this is interesting, Srinivas, because I think most of the tools, they said they have the EI capabilities. Any features of EI or predictive analytic in EG?
Yeah, so multiple, we didn't have time to go into this in more detail, but first I would like to highlight machine learning, because we collect millions of metrics in our customer sites. You can't manually analyze all these metrics and figure out what is working, what is not. So we have machine learning built in to analyze large data sets, to be able to quickly tell you which data set is abnormal. So we look for outliers to see what is the percentage of outliers that we have for any metric. And based on that, we'll come back and tell you, here are the, out of the million metrics you collected, here are the 10 or 20 that you need to look at. So that is the first thing. Second, we actually have the topology maps that you saw and the drill downs that you saw were not just for display purposes. Those are maps which the tool has auto-discovered, and it's using those maps to figure out where are the dependencies. And so when a problem happens, what is the chance that there could be a problem behind somewhere in the chain that is impacting a problem right another application in front. So we have patented technologies that analyze these topology maps in real time, so we can come back and tell you where is the root cause of the issue. Now, third point I want to highlight is we have in the tool the ability to actually forecast where you're going to be. So I'm just going to bring up a graph that will show you a metric over time. The blue line on my chart represents the actual value that you've had over the last few weeks. And the purple line represents where we think the forecast is going to be in the future. So the advantage here is, let's say I'm looking at this space. I'm at 60% full. You can ask the system to tell me, when do you think I'm going to be at 100%? So that way, you know whether you have 1 week or 4 weeks or 1 year before you can buy another disk. So this is another example of where we can use the intelligence to be able to tell you where you're likely to be in the future.
Okay. So there's a feature, yeah, predicted futures performance. That's a good one. Okay. The next from Pak Reddy Yuda. Is EGI able to integrate with the IoT? IoT, but the protocol is not the TCP/IP or IP.
Yeah, so right now our integration is limited to TCP/IP as well as SNMP devices. So if you have some other protocol that you're supporting, we need to investigate that.
Yeah. Okay, I think let me try to find the last question. Okay, from Pak Fuad Hanif Mustafa. Related to the IT monitoring, data that has been analyzed can be affected by virus or not. How to make it safe from data breach, especially if they keep it on the network attached storage, NAS.
So can you repeat the question? Was it, how does EGI secure the data that we collect?
Yeah, I think that's the point.
Okay. So the security is something that has to be, cannot be handled in one place, right?
Yeah.
Every stage of the way, the communication protocol has to be secure. The agent itself has to be secure. We secure it by not opening ports, so nobody can come into a server through an agent. Transmission over the wire is encrypted with SSL and therefore is secure. On the management server, once we get the data on disk is encrypted. So any configuration we store is in encrypted form on disk. We use encryption on the database as well. So when we are storing it on the database tables, you can't actually export the data without having credentials for the database. So security is handled all the way through to make sure that at no point is the data available, can be hacked by somebody just looking at a file on disk or accessing a system directly.
Yeah. By the way, Srinivas, EGInnovation using what database?
Either Oracle or Microsoft.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's the last question that we can discuss. Later on, I will let you give your closing remark after the photo break. Back to Norma. Can stop the share screen. Norma?
Ya.
Ya, silakan.
Stop screen dulu, Pak.
Ya. Mr. Srinivas, can you stop the share screen?
How do I stop it? I paused it. Do I need to stop?
Stop the share screen.
At the bottom, there's directly at the bottom of the screen.
Yeah, stop share. Okay.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, thanks.
Go ahead, Norma.
Oke, baik Bapak Ibu, sebelum kita mendengarkan closing remark dari narasumber dan 3 orang terpilih pemenang voucher Oppo, kita akan foto bersama-sama terlebih dahulu. Mohon untuk dapat menyalakan kameranya.
Silakan nyalakan kameranya, kita mau foto bersama. Ya, mantap ini ya.
Pak Amir udah
Ramai
gaya
sekali
nih.
ini ya. Silakan di capture Nurma.
Hitung sampai 3, 1, 2, 3. Sebentar.
Kursnya udah naik ini sekarang nih, kurs dolar lagi naik-naiknya nih. Mbak Badi aja, iya bisa nih benar. Iya.
Dah.
Belum Pak, bentar.
Itu pas lebaran. Ya kan?
Satu lagi.
Udah pegel tuh tangannya tuh
Udah Pak, udah.
Pak Amin tuh.
Udah Pak.
Ya.
Udah.
Oke, jadi sebelum 3 orang pemenang, kita dengar dulu closing remark-nya Mr. Srinivas. Go ahead, your closing remark, Mr. Srinivas.
Sure. So I think my summary is IT environments have become a lot more complex. Organizations have become a lot more demanding in terms of what they want from IT. I think it creates some challenges, but from a managed service provider perspective, I think it also opens up a lot of opportunities. Focus on user experience will allow service providers to add more value to organizations, get closer to the business, and hopefully create a recurring revenue stream that will benefit them in the long term. That's it.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Srinivas Ramanathan from EGInnovation. You are very good explaining the solution, yeah, and I think all of us understand a lot more on the EGInnovation and how we can use the solution, ya. Oke, terima kasih Bapak Ibu rekan-rekan. Saya kembalikan ke Nurma untuk bacakan 3 orang yang mendapatkan OVO dalam kesempatan kita kali ini. Silakan.
Oke, baik. Saya akan mengumumkan 3 orang terpilih pemenang voucher Oppo senilai Rp100.000. Yang pertama, Pak Agus Nur Halim.
Ada Pak Agus?
Ada Pak Agus.
Pak Agus monitor.
Ada sih Pak, ini udah nyaringin video dia.
Oh ya.
Yang kedua.
Sorry about that, thank you.
Ya, selamat ya Pak Agus. Yang kedua, Pak Redi Yuda Barata. Ada Pak Redi? Pak Redi. Dan yang terakhir Pak Fuad Hanif Mukhat. Pak Fuad Hanif, ada Pak Fuad Hanif?
Ya, ada Bu. Ada Bu, ada.
Oke.
Selamat ya Pak.
Oke.
Selamat kepada 3 orang terpilih pemenang voucher Oppo senilai Rp100.000. Nanti akan kami hubungi secara acara ini selesai. Terima kasih Bapak Ibu atas partisipasinya. Thank you Srinivas Ramanathan. Sampai bertemu di webinar kami selanjutnya. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Terima kasih, sampai jumpa.
Terima kasih semua.
Thank you very much.
Jangan lupa besok ada lagi tuh
Bye.
besok. Silakan ikutan ya. Kita bahas teknologi fiber optik besok ya. Thank you again for Srinivas and team for the support. Thank you EGInnovation team.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you all.
Thank you all.
Bye bye.